There's a lot of talk out there about people who are quitting their jobs to travel on their savings. I'm one of those people. I did it myself. But what if you don't have the savings, but you still want to take a sabbatical? What if you don't want to wait until you save up the money to give yourself some time to travel? Well, today we're going to talk about how you can take a sabbatical on $0 savings. But first, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Stephanie Perry, and when I was 41, I did quit my job as a hospital pharmacy technician to travel for a year on my savings. I visited 12 countries in 12 months. After I went back home and went back to work, I decided to make this more of a long-term thing. So now I'm a year-round house sitter, and I'm the creator of House Sitter School. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and ring that notification bell, and you'll be notified when I do post a new video. I'm actually house sitting right now. I'm in San Nicolas in Mexico, outside of Ajijic, and there are dogs running around, so you'll see them. They're pretty quiet, so we should be good to go. Okay, so as you may already know, if you've watched any of my videos, I am pro sabbatical. I am pro career break. I'm pro gap year. Take a year off or a summer off and travel, see the world. I say it all the time, waiting for retirement to travel is a scam. You don't know how your body's gonna feel at that time. You don't know what kind of energy you're gonna have at that time. So take a year off now and travel, or do what you want, but take some time and do something for yourself while you're still physically and mentally capable of doing it. I had a heartbreaking conversation heartbreaking and encouraging, conversation today with one of my Facebook friends who left her job due to stress, and she described her situation at work as being in an abusive relationship with her boss. Some of y'all right now are nodding your head. Some of you know exactly what that feels like, what that is. This video today is to let you know that there are ways to take career breaks, to take a break from work, even if you don't have cash saved up. When I quit to travel, I did have $14,000 saved up, and that lasted me for 12 months. But if you don't want to wait that long, here's how to get started. All right, so if you don't have the cash saved up to travel, I'm going to assume that you don't have the cash to buy an airline ticket to the other side of the world at the last minute. Maybe you do. But if you don't despair. Airline points to the rescue. There are some credit cards out there with some amazing rewards, including some where if you spend a certain amount within the first 6 months or a year of having the card, you could get what equates to more than one round-trip ticket anywhere in the world. I am totally slipping on the airline points game. I booked my first flight with points when I flew down to Mexico this time last year. That was the first time I had ever been able to, get up enough points to fly anywhere for free. But I know some people who are totally on top of it. So if you want me to bring somebody in to do a talk on how to maximize your airline rewards and how to maximize your credit card points, let me know in the comments. I'll do it so we can learn together. All right, the other thing that you need before you leave home is travel insurance. Okay, travel medical insurance is different from just flight protection if your flight gets canceled or if your luggage ends up missing. I did a full video on travel insurance. You can click the link here to watch that video if you haven't already. I was in a really good Twitter chat called Travel with Soul. Black Women Travel Podcast has a really good Twitter chat, and Danica S. Nelson on Twitter said, if you can't afford travel insurance, you can't afford to travel. I totally agree with that. You cannot leave home without travel medical insurance because an emergency that would land you in the hospital could cost you tens of thousands of dollars to be evacuated back to the U.S. So before we leave home, you need to work out an arrangement for travel medical insurance. The way to handle that, if you don't have the savings to pay for it out of pocket, is just to go on a monthly plan. I know what you're thinking. You're like, how can I afford a monthly payment plan on insurance if I don't have money during the sabbatical? We're going to talk about ways to make money in a couple minutes. But first, let's talk about some ways to cut costs while you're traveling so that you don't have to make as much money as you go, because it's a sabbatical and you don't want to spend the whole time working to earn money. So let's talk about ways to cut costs while you're traveling. I have 2 favorites, I guess 3 favorites. It's going to end up with 6, but my first favorite is just to go somewhere really inexpensive. There are plenty of inexpensive regions in the world where you can travel for about $40 a day. I did a video on that. Click the link if you want to watch it. Okay, but that's not really a secret. So one of the better ways to cut costs is to work in exchange for free room and board. I did this myself. I did it in Cambodia and twice in Australia. I volunteered through Workaway. Workaway is just a website where people who need volunteers and people who want to be volunteers meet up. And you agree to do certain jobs for them in exchange for free room and board for a predetermined amount of time. So Workaway is a wonderful way to live in a new environment without having to pay for accommodation or having to pay for your own meals. There are all different types of work available on Workaway. I did a volunteer, there's like an attack butterfly out here. So I did a volunteer job where I wrote letters for a farmer in Cambodia. He was French and he wanted an English speaker to create some emails and send some correspondence out for him. So I did that. In Australia, I worked as a part-time au pair or a demi-pair for a family where I got the kids up and dressed and fed them breakfast and drove the carpool and packed the lunch. But in Australia, my meals were covered. They gave me a car to drive. So Workaway is a good way to be able to take a sabbatical when you don't have savings. My favorite option though, because the work exchange can sometimes be tiring. Sometimes it's farm work, sometimes you're just exhausted and it doesn't necessarily feel like a period of rest for you. My favorite option, as you know, is house sitting. Like I said, I'm house sitting right now. My days are mine. I get to stay in a nice place in a nice town, and not a whole lot is required of me throughout the day. I have to feed their pets here, so I have to feed the pets. These dogs, I don't even take them for a walk. They don't walk, they just run around the backyard. So it's an amazing gig and I get a free place to stay. I'm going to do an entire series called House Sitter School, which will give you the lowdown on how to get started as a house sitter, including like how to find good house sits, how to pick a good area, how to pitch yourself for house sits. So make sure that you are subscribed, like I said, and make sure that you hit that notification bell so you'll know when those videos are coming out. So when we're talking about taking a sabbatical with zero money saved, house sitting is one of the best ways to go. All right, but you don't want to leave home with no money and no income. Okay, I think we all agree on that. Rashida from Sheeta's on the Loose has a channel dedicated to taking a grown-up gap year or a sabbatical as well. Subscribe to Rashida's channel too. I'll put the link in the description. And when I told her I was making this video, she was like, do you really want people traveling with no savings? So let Rashida be the voice of reason. You don't want to go with no savings and no income. So here are some ways that you can make money as you go so that your sabbatical isn't just you standing on a street corner begging. The first is remote work. A lot of y'all already do a job that you could do from anywhere in the world. You just have to pitch that to your employer. I didn't have that luxury. I was a pharmacy technician in a hospital. I made IVs all night long. So there was no way that I could be like, hey, I'm going to do this job from Poland for a few weeks. But some of you can. I talked to an accountant on Instagram the other day and I was like, can't you work from anywhere? She was like, oh yeah, I can. So you just need to think about how you could get your employer to agree to a more flexible work arrangement for you for this finite period of time. Remember that it's easier for them to say yes if you have parameters set up already and if you have a pitch that shows them why it's going to benefit them and not just you. Taking a sabbatical doesn't just help the employee who takes the sabbatical. The employees, for example, who fill in for that person while they're gone, improve their skill set, and then you come back with renewed energy and with fresh ideas that you would not have had if you had stayed at your desk during that period of time. I know an expert on getting your employer to agree to a more flexible work schedule for you. Their website is workoptions.com. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just know that their website has the tools to get you a more flexible work arrangement with your current employer. So go to workoptions.com, get your pitch together, and get your employer on board for your sabbatical. It may take even less effort than you think. Some employers actually have a sabbatical policy, but their employees don't know about it. If your current employer isn't going to get on board with you working remotely and working fewer hours for this year so that you can take some time to travel, and or you just decide that you're quitting anyway, there are employers out there who hire remote workers. I'm going to refer you to a couple of YouTubers who are experts at this topic. Delilah Bell, whose name is here, and Kat Theo. Okay, so they're two YouTubers who have a lot of information on their channel about how to become a remote worker. I know we're talking about a sabbatical, but we're talking about a sabbatical where you don't have money saved up ahead of time. but they can help you find enough remote work part-time to be able to continue to live. All right, so we've talked about becoming a remote worker for your current employee. We've talked about finding remote work online. Another option is just to start freelancing. This is something that I wish I had done before I left. I wish I had started my freelance writing business before I left on my gap year, and then I would not have had to come back to work before I started house sitting. I do freelance writing. I write for coaches. I write workbooks and email newsletters and things. I'm still at a stage as a freelance writer where I spend more time looking for clients than I do actually working for my clients. So I'm not a freelance writing expert, but I know another one, okay? G Nantera has a channel here on YouTube, of course, and her YouTube channel has all the information you need to get your freelance writing business going. Well, not just freelance writing, any type of freelance job, any type of client work that you could do without having a boss. While I was traveling around Southeast Asia for a year, I found out that there's a super popular way for people to make money while they travel, and that's being an English tutor online. If you're a native English speaker, there are large companies, primarily Chinese companies, who will hire you to tutor students online. From what I've seen, these jobs tend to start out paying $10 to $20 per hour, so you could very well get away with working 3 or 4 hours a day and still have the rest of your time to do your sabbatical stuff. VIP Kid is the most popular. Cambly is another that I hear a lot of. I've actually signed up for Cambly, but I haven't worked for them yet. I'll have links to those sites and a couple of others in the description box. Way number 5 to make money during your sabbatical while you're traveling is to work in hospitality when you get to a new place. If you have an experience as a bartender, as a waitress, working in a hostel or working in a hotel, then you may be able to get work when you get to the new country or the new place that you're traveling to. I've never done this. I don't have experience doing this. Again, I know people who do, so if you want me to do a full video on it, you'll have to let me know in the comments and I'll invite them on and we'll talk about it. But working in a new country can be a little bit tricky. I think every country requires you to have some sort of work visa. So if you're a foreigner, you'd have to be paid under the table. It's not the most stable or reliable way to work, but there are people out there who do it. The 6th way to do it, which is much more reliable than number 5, is to get a working holiday visa. A working holiday visa is just what it sounds like. If you want to go to another country to work there and holiday there and vacation there at the same time, there are countries that open their arms to you. The working holiday visa does have several stipulations. The first is that it's for young people. So most of them are for people between the ages of 18 and 30. Some of them extend to the age of 35. I wasn't eligible for it during my grown-up gap year, but I met several people, especially in Australia, who were doing it. Australia is one of the most popular places, it seems like, for people to do a working holiday or to get the working holiday visa. The requirements vary based on where you're from, your country. So Americans have several options for where they can take a working holiday. I know that Canada, Portugal, Ireland, New Zealand, and Australia are on the list for U.S. residents. For residents of some other countries, Canadians, the world seems to be open for you guys. I think it's because you guys are more reciprocal. UK and Australian residents seem to have a good amount of options too. People from other countries, unfortunately, not so much. The good news, 18 to 35-year-olds, is that I have a video coming up very soon on the working holiday visa. So we'll be able to get more in-depth information about who is eligible, how it works, how you apply for it, and if it's worth it. All right, so if you've made it this far in the video, you now know to get airline miles or points to pay for your airfare. You know that you can have a monthly policy for your travel medical insurance, so you don't have to come out of pocket in the beginning. You know how to cut costs by working in exchange for free accommodation or a free room and board. And you know that you can make some money either through freelance work, remote work, online tutoring, hospitality work, or the working holiday visa. Any questions that you have for me on taking a sabbatical with $0 saved up, hit me up in the comments or holler at me on social media. On Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I'm at Vicarious, and my website is vicarious.com. Please take a second to like this video if you like it and share it with anybody you know who could use a break, which is everyone. Don't forget, House Sitter School videos are coming really soon, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. But first, let's talk about some ways to cut costs. There's a truck going by.